what do I mean about sustainability? And, you know, you can go to the old Wikipedia version, the definition, but really what we're talking about is that underlined section, long-term sustainability, right? This August, the program hits 43 years old. And Doug feels like he's been in the program for 43 years, even though he hasn't. I don't know, it's like dog years. So
Yeah.
1 year in weatherization is
is.
maybe 8 or 9. Well, it'd have to be 7, wouldn't it? It'd have to be 7. So, but, you know, that's really what we're talking about is what's the long-term maintenance and well-being of our organization. And so you kind of can break that down into 3 metrics. You're on the scale in one of 3 places. You're either challenged, so you rode the short bus. You can survive. You're in survive. You're kind of right there in the middle. You have good days and bad. You know. And then, you know, if you're over there, you're thriving. And I'm going to presume that everybody around this table would prefer to be in the thrive. Right? Good answer. So what does challenge look like? And as we sat down as a team and we kind of went over this is our opinion of what challenge looked like. You know, you've got a waiting list that is just massive, you know, or it's not long enough, so you don't have enough production. Your crews are right on the heels of the auditors. Literally, as soon as the work order comes off the printer, the crew's sitting there waiting for something to do. And why is that an issue? Is because, again, more often than not, you've probably got production crews sitting around with no work. So having that backlog of audits, having a reasonable backlog of audits, means that your crews are always have that next job ready for them. You know, missing your production on a monthly basis. You're behind on reporting, or you've got ranting emails from me at odd hours of the night about inaccuracies in the data. You're behind on your request for funds, or I'm constantly sending them back because of problems like sales tax. I didn't look at you. Maybe.
I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I even wrote a check out for $6.12 so I could get my reimbursements paid for the sales tax.
Did that work?
Because I tried calling these people for 100 times and they said, we can't take sales tax off of that. That's
It's all right. I wrote a check for $1.73. So.
No,
Yay, all right.
one time you taped money.
Oh, I like that.
These scotch taped coins.
I
Yeah.
like that
It
better.
was on purpose, coins, wasn't it?
But and so you all said, and when he did that, I was not in charge, and that was because when Johnson was around, and if we turned in a receipt with sales tax, in the Army we called it the duffel bag drag. I mean, he made you do that. He'd give you that damn receipt back, and you come back in my office until the sales tax is removed. And so that was his answer, is he taped like 40 cents for some crap. I
There
thought
you
Johnson
go.
was going to kill him.
Your damn sales.
I just, priceless. But yeah, I mean, it's something that will get your head chopped off at the stake. You thou shalt not turn in sales tax. And they started watching on our end too, so I started making you guys more accountable as well. So anyway, you know, we were talking earlier about contract management, trouble spinning out every year. Some reason you're running way short on one budget line all the time. Those would be all indications. You know, from a monitoring standpoint, if Dalton or Turner are writing you a 6, 7, 8 page long monitoring report every year, that's probably a good indication. This is one that as I was thinking about it, but it's probably a good indication. If I'm always on the phone and emailing you about stuff,
I thought it's because you like me.
as some of you know, I can just call you and it seems like I'm there to just BS with you for a while. That might be true.
Okay, I didn't,
And another one would be high employee turnover. If you're having a hard time retaining people, maybe that's an indication. And again, it's not saying that you have to have all these things. And as we kind of go through these, you know, in some cases you're going to find that over here you're in the green and over there you're not. Just some stuff I want you to think about. You know, if you're in survival mode, which means you're probably winning more days than you're losing. But you probably at least have about a 6-month waiting list, which means you've almost got a year's worth of clients waiting for you. You know, your auditors are a little bit in front of the job, like we talked about. So there's always that next job for the crew to start on, and that's important to always keep your crews, you know, moving from job to job. As long as any of those people are sitting idle, they're burning money and you're not getting nothing out of it. You know, you're making production most months. You have a month here and there where you might miss it, but you make it up maybe a month or two later. Your reporting is mostly on time. You know, every once in a while there's an error, but you know what? Again, those things happen, especially when your heat certs are wrong.
Oh my gosh.
You know, your requests for funds are coming in, you know, by the 25th of the following month, instead of maybe by the 5th or 9th or 10th of the following month.
following.
Your contracts, you're spinning out. Every once in a while, something weird happens, and maybe we have to extend the LIHEAP contract for a few months. And again, that's the lovely flexibility of having that. You know, your staff, all their certifications are current. Your equipment's calibrated, you know. And you notice now we're getting down into maybe some finer print or a little bit lower into the weeds. You're actually now able to focus on other littler things than just trying to not get ran over. And then, you know, every once in a while we're on the phone bugging you about something. And we get into the Thrive, you know. That ideal place is that an agency should always have about a year to wait. And that's an opinion. You know, you may feel that you want a little bit more, a little bit less, but I think in general, having at least a year's wait, that way you always kind of know that you've got about a year's worth of clients out there for at least a year's worth of money. Again, if you have your auditors a little bit further out there in front of your crews, what's, you know, as Doug was pointing out a little bit earlier about the amount of time it takes to get an audit done. And then you can get, you know, and it's never happened to you, Jesse, right? You get one house that's just a big giant turd fest.
Mm-hmm.
That 3 hours now turns into a day, right? Because that never happens. And so if you've got a little bit more of a backlog out there, when the wheels fall off and it goes pear-shaped, you can absorb that. You can react to that. You know, your reporting is accurate and timely on every month. You know, draws are in and you hardly, you know, you never can get set back. You know, you're spinning out always on time. And, you know, you're drawing, not just that they're spinning out on time, but now that contract is well managed. You're always drawing them down very equally. And so you're getting everything spin out across multiple awards instead of just, you know, making one and extending this one and kind of juggling things around. You know, your monitoring reports all of a sudden are about only commendables and best practices. That's a great indication of where you stand, right? If you have this nice, like, 3-page monitoring report that says those types of things. You know, another example, agencies always looking at ways to innovate. You're developing, you're out there in the front, leading the pack and coming up with the next idea, the next new form that Doug gets to fill in. And last,
I do need your address, Doug, so I can send you the forms.
Middle finger at state, guys.
yeah. And then the last one, you know, we have to actually look your number up and call you. You know, it's been so long, we're not even really sure.
Instead of having a speed
Yeah.
dial.
Yeah. Or, you know, instead of, you know, just letting go in the steering wheel and the vehicle goes to your office, I actually have to use GPS. It's a long, I take the left here. But, you know, I mean, we can joke about this, but and like I said, as you're sitting around here, you know, think about that. Where do you fit in those things? And like I said, I believe all of you can say there's some areas that you're probably over there and thrive. There's some places that you're over there and challenged. There's some places where you're in between, and it's going to be different for all 7 of you. So kind of looping back around to that question that Carrie Lynn asked about time and you know, how many bodies and all these things. And one of those things that kind of weighs into that for you as a leader, as an organization, to make that meaningful move from challenged to survive to thrive, or if you're at thrive, to stay and sustain at that level, you have to be strategic in your thought. You have to be thinking long term. And as you saw through some of those items on those things, that progression and some of those common themes, like with the auditors and things like that, one of those things that when you start getting yourself out of whatever hole you're in whatever category, is you start getting that luxury of a little bit more time and better planning. And that gives you that opportunity because, you know, like we were talking with Jesse, there's always going to be that next problem client, that next problem job, possibly that next problem employee, that next problem state guy calling you about something. And if you have yourself in, you know, survive and thrive mode, you can respond and react to that. And so, you know, earlier I was talking about I am more than willing to take the Pepsi challenge with the feds because I think in a lot of areas as a program from the state level down, we do thrive. We do good production. We do good quality work. We do good audit. I went on a little rant with Turner the other day when I was having breakfast with our project officer in D.C. He talked about how a few weeks before he went to a 1-week auditor training on the NEAT and EMEA. Last year, when I had breakfast with him, he had been to a couple-day training on ASHRAE 62.2. Last year, everybody was doing ASHRAE wrong. None of us knew what we were doing. And he listed off a few things, and I'm like, no, we got that. No, we got that. I'm like, I think we do. I'm going to check when I get home. And we did. Because I'm like, eh. So this year, nobody knows how to use the NEAT, EMEA. Nobody's doing audits right. And I just bit my tongue. Actually, I bit another piece of cake. But my tongue could have tasted like that. But yeah, I really, as you know, I don't pass up challenges too easily. And I was really kind of ready to just get down in the dirt and wallow a little bit on that one. Because I promise, even probably one of our newest auditors knows more about using the NEAT and EMEA after they've gone through a few hours with Turner than he will know in a year and a half from now. And I just, those blanket statements, it got to me. And that's where I started realizing, no, we're doing good things. We you know, when the people that wrote the software found out that we're using features that nobody else has even used, they've never been asked a question about it because nobody else uses it. You know, that's where my confidence level is in a lot of things we're doing in the program. But like I said, that is really an agency-specific thing. And as the team and I were talking about, you know, those bullets of what's the direction of the program for 19, and when we came to that bullet, and I again, that idea of sustainability, thriving long term, and you know, I initially started out with, well, I want the agencies to what was the word? I said something like, you know, own their programs more. I said, you know, there's some things sometimes that I think we do for the agencies that really should be things that they should be taken care of. And we do it because we need to track this or monitor that or whatever. And so we kind of own some of those things. And as we were kind of kicking that around, Matt Turner said something about, well, you know, I think when I hear that, I'm paraphrasing, not a direct quote, but he made the comment about, I think about, well, how can I come up with a better tool or a process or something that helps them do their jobs better. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I said, I want us out at the state to get a little bit away, just like you've got to produce widgets. Oh, we've got to produce QCI reports and, saying that we went out and looked at this many jobs. So we've got our own widgets we've got to make, right? But I want to see our monitoring reports getting a little bit up out of the weeds. I don't want to just be coming out and writing you a monitoring report of, here's what you did wrong on these jobs and give you a punch list and tell you to go fix it. I want to start looking, from our perspective, let's go down a way. Why are these problems happening? What is the root cause? What systems can we help you develop and implement so that you don't have that problem anymore? And there's a lot of different things and opportunities there for us to help you guys develop some of those tools. But no matter what, it's going to start with you all as the leaders of those programs at your level, looking inwards and going back and asking yourself, where are we challenged? Where are we surviving? And where are we thriving? And what can I move and how can I move? We can help you. But you are the ones, people around this table are the ones. They're going to be the ones that go in and actually do that. And it requires you to be very honest with yourself. It's very easy to ignore certain things. When you're put in a leadership position, that is one of the hardest things to overcome. Denial. So,
I was thinking about how to wrap this up, and it wasn't something I had discussed in the meeting, and I actually got into a conversation after the meeting with some people about this, and it reminded me of this story that I really think kind of summarizes, the goals and reasons why you want to get into this position of thrive and the sustainability, matrix. And it starts with envy. So several years ago, Wade was talking about these new tires and rims he put on his truck, and one day I finally got around to seeing them, and they were really some nice looking rims and tires he put on his truck. And I'd owned several vehicles over the years and bought brand new vehicles, but I'd always left that kind of stuff factory. The only kind of aftermarket thing I'd ever did to a vehicle was put a good stereo in it because I liked my music loud. And so, kind of the point behind why you want to make that jump from struggle to survive and survive to thrive is, what's in it for you? What's the payback? And, my wife and I, when we were struggling and, and even surviving, one of our goals, one of my obsessions, if you will, was to get debt free. And so we worked very hard to get debt free. We sacrificed, and things like that. And we were successful several years ago to where we got everything paid off. House, vehicles, it's all clear. So we just worry about our monthly bills. And, having this case of rim and tire envy from Wade flaunting his new stuff in front of me, I started going out and shopping and thinking, I'm going to maybe see if I can't find some tires and rims I wouldn't mind put on my truck. And also I would maybe look at financing them because, we hadn't had a payment or anything in a while, and we'd worked hard to get that credit score up there, and I wanted to keep it up there. And so eventually I went out and I found some tires and rims that I really wanted. So here are these tires and rims that I wanted so bad. And once I, found them and everything, I went to the guys that I was going to buy them from and have them install them. And I asked them, okay, well, what's your terms? What kind of loan terms do you have? And the guy came back with this outrageous 17% interest. And I'm like, holy cow, that's loan shark money. There's no way in heck I'm paying that. I got enough money in the bank and savings. I'll just go pay cash for them. And I went on home thinking that's what I was going to do. And then I kind of got to thinking, well, maybe I ought to go down to the bank and see what kind of terms they have for a signature loan or cash advance, line of credit, something like that. And so I go in there and I go see the little gal in the loan office, and I sit down and I ask her that question, and she's like, oh, well, signature loan or line of credit right now is running 5%. And I'm going, well, I'm not sure I really like 5% anymore, and I like 17%. Thanks, I guess I'll just pay cash for it and be on my way. And she's like, well, she brought up my account and everything. She's like, well, yeah, you definitely have more than enough money in your savings or checking to pay cash for these. She goes, maybe you would be interested in taking out what we call a secured loan. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And she said, well, a secured loan, we just freeze the amount of money we loan you out of your savings account so you can't withdraw or access it. But it's only at 2%. And then at every time you make a payment, we'll release that amount of a payment from what's been secured. And I started really thinking, the gears started turning. And it's like, yeah, this is what I want. And I actually at one point kind of started laughing and giggling a little bit. And the little girl wasn't quite sure what I found so humorous. And so I started to explain to her about 2%. So this is what made it so funny. We've all got probably at least one credit card. Some of us probably have too many credit cards. But nowadays, almost every credit card has some types of reward thing going on where you get miles or cash back or all these different things. And at the time, I had a pretty decent little credit card, still have it. And that credit card was going to give me 2% cash back. So I signed the papers and I do the deal and get the loan. And I turned right back around. I went and bought the rims and tires and had them installed in my truck, paid for them with my credit card, and then paid my credit card statement with that loan the same month. So I didn't get hit with any other penalties or charges, but I also got the 2% cash back for the purchase on my credit card. So in essence, my 2% loan I got for free. That's what happens when you get in that thrive mode. It takes extra effort. When you're stuck in struggle, when you're stuck in survive, it is going to take extra effort. You're going to have to experience a level of pain to fight and dig your way out of whatever hole you're in. Doesn't matter whether it's with production, contract management, purchasing, inventory, contracting, any of those things you're doing. If you're struggling in one of those categories, at some point you're going to have to put forth that extra effort. You're going to experience a little bit of pain to climb up and move to that next level. But when you get to that next level, when you get to survive from struggle, and when you get from thrive, from survive mode, one of the things you're going to find better is you're going to start reaping these benefits that you didn't have before. It's that little bit of extra effort when things are stacked up against you and when you're down that is going to help make you move to the next level. And then when you get to the next level, things are going to get a little bit better and a little bit easier. So that's kind of my final message on why we want to look at sustainability in all these different areas in the program, not just at the state level, but at the local agency level.